Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Welcome back, friends. Today I drove only about 2 miles away from my other buddy's place because this is the second interview of the day. I drove from Eau Claire all the way to Minneapolis. We're sitting in St. Paul right now with, I can't believe it, but my 5th most streamed artist from Spotify last year.
Ooh.
I was kind of surprised, but I was like, I did listen to 1,000 Highways a lot of times for some reason. That was like my go-to song. So welcome to the show, SonReal.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it so much, bro.
Dude, yeah, thanks for coming over here. You haven't been on tour in forever. I kept thinking, like, at some point I'll try to get you, and then I saw you post that a tour was happening, and I was like, when does he tour? Because as far as like I know, I haven't seen a tour ever in the amount of time that I'd followed you.
Yeah, if you're in the last 3 years, I haven't toured for 3 years because I toured right before the pandemic, 2019, and then the pandemic hit, and I put up a tour in, I think, 2021, and it ended up getting canceled because of like the Omicron thing or whatever. And then 2022, I ended up having twin babies, and I just wanted to be around when they were really young, and I was almost done my album anyway, so it worked out perfect timing. I was gonna go on tour fall 2022, but we had to just push it back to the following year, which actually worked out really well for me.
Yeah, well, I saw that you had posted that you were going on tour and what the tour dates were, and I was like, no way, St. Paul, sick. Now I don't have to try to go all the way to Canada just for this. And so I DM'd you, and thankfully you're like, yeah, hit up my manager, here's his email. And then it worked out. So I'm pretty stoked that this all worked out. I haven't interviewed too many people that I actually was like, prior to finding out about them, that I was a fan of their work. I've just interviewed a lot of people that I got connected by somebody, then I became a fan of their work, kind of a thing.
Cool,
you know what I mean?
man.
But this was one where I could just reach out. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. So are you still in the town that you grew up in? You said you live by all your family. It's somewhere in Canada. Where is it?
So yeah, I live in Lake Country, British Columbia. I live near all my family, like my wife's sisters live up the street. My sister lives next door. My mom lives down the street. Her parents live down the street. So I've got 3 kids, and it's just nice to be around family when you got young kids. I also live like 7 minutes from an airport, so flying to LA and stuff is like super common for me and easy, super convenient. I lived in LA for 6 years before I moved back. 2021 is when I moved into my house. But yeah, it's been great. I have a studio there. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but like a lot of my songs, I just record by myself. Like, even back before everywhere we go and everything, I went to audio engineering school as soon as I got out of high school, pretty much. And like, ever since I started music, I've always recorded my own stuff. So having a studio in my spot really helps for just like, pumping out more songs and doing content there and stuff. So it's been good, man.
You got to be like Lil Wayne and just have a skate park and then have the mic right in the same park.
That would be fire.
Do you know he bought the one from Tori Pudwill?
No.
Yeah, he sold him his skate park, and so he has a recording studio like in the skate park. It's pretty tight. So you grew up skateboarding though, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's like how I even got into music. I started skateboarding when I was like 10 years old. Started riding for like the local shop when I was like 13, and like, yeah, all like the people I even roll with here, like all the people that are with me, like Merch, the guy that's my tour manager, the guy that's shooting photos of us right now. Like, I grew up skateboarding with them way before I was ever doing music, and I started rapping when I was like 15. So.
What inspired you to start rapping from music? Where was the connection that made music? Was it just because all the skate videos were?
Of course, literally everything. So like, when I really got into skateboarding, like, all the older skateboarders were wearing like camo pants, bucket hats, like shit I'm wearing like right now. Like, not right now. Right now I'm wearing some workout shit. But
trends come back.
You know what I mean? Like, it was always like so ingrained in me, like the music that they were listening to. You were either with skateboarding, like your whole style is such a big thing in skateboarding, like what you wear, like how you push, like how you do tricks, like the way you ride out of tricks, like everything is like so style based. And like, there was like the people that listened to like, AFI and like more like rock shit, and then there was guys that listened to like Wu-Tang and Nas and Mobb Deep and stuff, and like I was definitely listening listening to like Nas, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Capone and Noriega. Like I liked a lot of East Coast rap, and like my skateboard style was reflecting that. Like it was just like, that's what I listened to. That's what was it. Like whenever I'd make like a Sponsor Me tape, it was always to like Beat Nuts or something like that.
Which videos did you grow up on then? Because my first one was Yeah Right. Because I started skating when I was like 9 or 10, which was 2000. And so I think Yeah Right, the girl video came out in 2001 or something. But I remember hearing in that song No Warm Up, you referenced Quim Cordona, which I don't know if that many people really even pick up on that reference, but I do.
Funky style, bro. You just had that funky style. Quim Cordona is super dope. My first skateboard video was Fulfill the Dream. So I'm older than you. So like,
makes sense.
Fulfill the Dream was like, I remember seeing Sammy Baptista doing like switchback. I thought he was doing everything regular, and then like I watched it again and I was like, oh, he's like doing both. And like, Sammy Bap was around the same age as me at the time. Like I think he was 12 or 11 when he was doing that skate video. Might have been a little bit older than me, but he was really small and like around the same height, same like build as me. And I was just like, I could not believe how much better he was than anything I could do at the time. And I was just like blown away. You know, Chad Muska just absolutely nose sliding everything. And I was just like, this is just so dope. I just fell in love with it, man. But there's like, Yeah Right was one of my favorite videos. Sorry was one of my favorite. I really liked Arto Sorry when I started trying to get a little bit more gnarly, doing like rails and stairs and hurting ourselves a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, Sammy Baptista, a random story about him. I just got an email from him like a month ago. And I was like, wait a second. This is the Sammy Baptista I'm thinking of?
I'd fan out. If I met Sammy, I'd fan out.
He emailed me because he's doing a clothing company or something now. And so I'm sure he was just looking at the shop list in Thrasher. They list all the skateboard shops. So my shop, Passion Board Shops, printed in every Thrasher mag. So he probably just looked through and, you know, whatever, and sent emails. But it's cool because being in a position like that, you know, you kind of geek out when you grow up such a like skate nerd. And I've been doing it now a long time. So I've interacted with a lot of pro skateboarders and stuff, but it's still cool every single time that like someone from when I was a kid that I recognize emails me, or I get a phone call, or, you know, like Jeff Lenoche, who is in all the Baker videos and stuff. He's my Baker rep. So every time I have a phone call with them ordering boards, it's always him. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, best switch heel flips in the game. It's cool every single time. But besides my reminiscing of that, so what was the first thing that you did music wise? So it was skateboarding that influenced it. But this would have been before like GarageBand and stuff. So like, what was your introduction music-wise?
So at the time I was using a program called Cool Edit. It was before GarageBand. I used Cool Edit and I actually used Acid Pro. There was two types. I used Acid Pro when I was like, sometimes I had time stretch beats and stuff like that. So I'd use Acid Pro for that. And then I'd use Cool Edit 2.0 for all the other stuff. Basically it started, man, I was skateboarding, listening to lots of hip hop music, and a couple of my friends just messed around and made like a funny song at their house. And I was like, they actually sounded pretty good. And I was like, I need to try this. And I went to Radio Shack. I blew like $50 on a microphone. I got like a little interface, and I just plugged it into my computer, and I started downloading beats off of online. And like, I was just going in on beats, and like I was so bad, like so bad, but just hearing myself on the record, it was almost like anything I've ever done in my life, man. I've always just like, I've loved like the journey and the grind of it. And like for some reason with music, it was always so fascinating for me to get better at. Like it was like, you know, once I was like, you know, 100 songs in, or, you know, 200 songs in, I started noticing I was able to, you know, for rap, like hit different cadences and, you know, hit double time now. And like I was just like getting better at like experimenting with stuff. And I was also a kid that was like 15, 16 years old, and my parents had just divorced, and I was using music also as like an outlet to like express myself, man. Like you have so much stuff bottled up, you can only say so much to your sister or your friend about it. And it's like for music, it was like almost like I could just talk to the mirror and just like let it all out. And it was really therapeutic for me as a kid, and I think it's why I potentially didn't get in as much trouble as I could have got in, you know what I mean? So music's always been like my outlet, and I just became obsessed with it, man. Like I started getting a lot better at it, and then even doing like my first show, I'll never forget, you know, I performed at my high school in front of like my whole high school in grade 11, and like I was so nervous. Me and my friend were like drinking in the parking lot before we like went and did it, and I remember I was just like, this is like such a rush. And so like adding the live element into it made me want to make the songs better so I could actually perform things better. And you know, I didn't even know anything about breath control and stuff. I was like running out of breath in front of my school and stuff, so I started focusing on all that kind of stuff. It was just something that I just always was just deeply in love with. From when I remember the first song, it was just like lights out. I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna do music as a job. Like, I'm gonna be a rapper. Like, I've never had a backup plan my whole time. I've done construction, all sorts of stuff to try and get my music off the ground. And yeah, it's just been a love of mine always.
So after high school, through high school, you were already doing shows then. What did the development look like between the ages of like 18? All of a sudden now you kind of have to make some kind of money, and music's not really making a lot at that point, up until, I don't know. I mean, Everywhere We Go was a long time ago at this point, but still that would have been a ways after that. How old were you when that video came out?
I was 26 when Everywhere We Go came out.
Okay, so there's a long time. So what was the trajectory before that? Because that's a lot of years before things really popped off. Right.
Yeah, man. So basically I moved to Vancouver to pursue my dream of music. And I did every type of construction that you could ever think of, bro. Like, name it, I did it. Like rebar, concrete, paving, like literally everything, roofing, restoration, framing, like everything. And I would just show up to different job sites with a tool belt and like say I knew more than I knew and try and get more money for doing the job, and then I would just learn on the spot. And then lots of the time you get laid off, a lot of stuff seasonal, this and that. So I had a lot of different jobs, and then I would go home after working 10 hours, 9 hours doing construction, and I would go work my second job, because I always treated music as a job as well, like, because I was able to make $200 at a show at a coffee shop on the weekend and stuff. So I was doing shows, open mics around that time while I was doing construction. And like, I remember I was just like, there's just no way this isn't gonna work. Like, even I think in order to be successful at anything, whether it's owning a skate shop or whether it's like music, like you have to have some sort of delusionalness inside of you and some sort of like just like fearless way of like attacking your dream. Because like around that time, I just remember there's no way. I still feel like this, like even this tour is like blowing my mind of how far I can take this. But like around that time, like I just saw no way that it wasn't going to work, even though I wasn't making any money really at it, a couple $100 a month. And my friends just started really supporting me around that time. Like, I would never, ever have been able to even pursue music if it wasn't for my friends, because my friends, the guy filming right now was shooting music videos for me for free 99, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And like my manager at the time was just like my biggest fan, and he was front row at all my shows, and like he was always cheering me on and like, yo, you got a new song for us? Like, we'd be all hanging out and I'd play my new music for him and everyone would be so hyped. And it was like, over time he was like, yo, can I help you? Like, I was like, you want to be my manager? Like, you could just learn how to do it. Like, and he's like, okay. He's my manager to this day. It's been over a decade of him being my manager. Like, my tour manager that's out here, like, we were just like, yo, can you learn sound? Like, so when we do shows, you can do the sound. And he's like, okay. And then he came on the road with us, and we found out he's really good at tour managing too. He's doing sound and tour managing tonight. The guy that's doing my merch hired me when I was 13 years old at that skate shop, and always believed in me, always played my music in the shop. Like, without my friends around those times, those hard times when you're working a job and trying to do music as a job, I couldn't have ever made it happen. And yeah, it's beautiful that I get to work with them even today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to have people that you trust. And, especially as you become more successful in whatever it is you're doing, it's harder and harder to trust the people around you, because you don't necessarily know what their motivation is to want to be around you. But if they're with you before you really amounted to anything that could have benefited them, that's when you know that they're really in it for the right reasons. I
will say this, though. This is just one thing. When I was doing construction, I was still doing construction when Everywhere We Go dropped. And me and my manager were working carpentry. We were doing framing at the time, and we both were not good framers. But like, we were doing that. The day before Everywhere We Go came out, we dropped our tool belts and we never went back. I haven't been back since. The day Everywhere We Go came out was the day I never worked a job again. So yeah, we believed in that video so much. We had a little bit of money saved up in a pot that we would just like both live off of, and like equally like divide like some money to like you know, if you needed clothes or you needed something, like we would just like be like living off that pot around the time. And like we believed in it so much, that video and that song, that we quit that day. And like that video did like 400,000 views first week, which was unheard of for us. Like I didn't even have a video over like 110,000 views at the time that was out for years before, you know. So just believe in yourself.
Yeah, and that video is at what, like 40 million or something ridiculous now?
I don't even know, 30 million or something.
It's crushed it. I think we kind of have to listen to that song now that we heard the whole story
Let's
of it.
do
so
it, man.
let's get to that. Thank you so much for creating that beautiful song that me and my kids, they actually, so we have a little Google speaker at the house, you know, and they pick up whatever songs I've been listening to that they recognize some words for. And right now, that's the one that every time they come home, they're like, can we listen to Everywhere We Go? Like, if you want to. I've heard it a lot of times at this point, but sick.
Hey, kids know all, man. Like my daughter's 3 and like she knows if a song's catchy or not. The kids are really smart with music, man.
Yeah, no, they really are. So that's crazy that like before that song hit, you just knew to walk away from it. But it's not like you get royalties from something like immediately just because it hit that night. So when you decided you're not going back to work, like what did you do while you watched those numbers kind of go? I mean, it must have taken, even though that went off right away, it still would take a little while to get a return on investment of like getting paid for shows and booked and travel, and then, you know what I mean? Totally,
man. I mean, as soon as it came out though, things did move pretty quick, man. Like within like a couple weeks, we were getting flown down to Atlanta by like DJ Drama's crew, and like you know, going out to New York to go see Benny Blanco, and like going to LA, and labels were interested and everything. It was a really exciting time for me because, you know, before that nobody was really reaching out or anything like that. And I was just doing shows in Vancouver, like little tiny shows, like legit at coffee shops and stuff. After Everywhere We Go came out, I was able to go to Toronto and go do 100 tickets in Toronto. I was able to go around Canada and like, you know, do 100 tickets, you know, 50 tickets, like whatever, just more than I was doing. Like more people were showing up and waiting for me to play Everywhere We Go. I didn't have, you know, a big catalog at the time or anything like that. So it moved fast enough to be able to, you know, scrape by and like be able to make a living for ourselves like pretty much immediately after. But yeah, it was all about like following up, and I remember around that time feeling pressure to like do something super funny again and like do something that was at the level of Everywhere We Go. And I actually followed up Everywhere We Go with a song called Believe, and I thought it was just like a really dope, it was almost like foreshadowing what I was going to do in the future a little bit, with just like throwing curveballs and like just being like, no, you know what? I'm just going to do what feels right in my heart. And this Believe song that I dropped to this day is like a really dope song. And it was like, I wasn't in character. The song didn't do as good as Everywhere We Go, but I loved it. And like, that was like the most important thing. And like, even with like stuff I do now, like, I don't ever base decisions artistically like on like stuff I'm doing in the studio based off of like success or like what it could get me numbers wise or this or that. I just try and make the best art I can make and the stuff that I'm the most proud of, because I'm the one that's gonna have to perform it for like the next couple decades, you know what I mean? So I don't even know if I answered your question there, but yeah.
Well, yeah, so I interviewed Chris Cruzy a little while ago. He got second place on The Voice, and he's like another like kind of local celebrity dude who lives, you know, near me. And when he got selected to go on The Voice, he already had an album like ready to go. So that way, when the TV show came out, he had this product, you know what I mean, to put out and show a whole catalog. Did you have an album like that was out really at the time to kind of promote, or did you like hustle to try to put together something to promote? Because when you're traveling and you're doing shows and stuff, it's really hard to record music at the same time.
Yeah, I had a collab project with my man Rich Kid. Shout out to Rich Kid. I did like a collab project with him, and then I had like just some mixtapes and stuff out, like a lot of like dubs on the mixtapes, like going over top of like Ghostface beats and stuff like that. And then fairly shortly after, I'd say 6 months after, I dropped a project called One Long Day. And that's when like I started being able to tour a little bit more, because people were getting to know the One Long Day stuff because they were already following me from Everywhere We Go. And yeah, it just kind of, it it's such a different thing when you're brand new and you kind of have one song that like people know, because you don't really have a catalog. And when you go to do a show, you have to do that song that everyone knows last, so people stay. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like that now. Like, are you gonna be at the show tonight?
I plan on staying. Yeah.
Amazing. Now it's like literally every single song I play tonight, people will sing, except for one because it's not out yet. I do one verse off of a song that's not out, but like it's like the whole catalog. Like, I built this catalog and I built a brand and a relationship with my fans. Like, my relationship with my fans is so strong now because they connect to my catalog, and you don't really have that when you first come up and you get your first, if your first song kind of goes, you know, the way Everywhere We Go did for me, like way above everything I had done.
Well, and that song was more lighthearted. The stuff that you've been making more recently, anyways, the last couple albums, has been a lot more serious that people would connect on a deeper level with.
Totally, man. Know? And like, it's nice. I'll say this: it's nice to have a catalog.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, at what point did you decide you really needed to get out and go to LA and do that whole thing?
Right, pretty much after Everywhere We Go. Like, I stayed in Vancouver for another year and a half after Everywhere We Go. Everywhere We Go came out in August 2013. I went to LA in February 2015. Me and my manager went out there. Our girlfriends at the time, they're now our wives, and we both actually have kids and stuff. But we all went out there together, and I just grinded, man. Just got in with different producers. It was a really, really fun time, and a really, I learned a lot around that time. Like, it was the first time that I had like way more cooks in the kitchen. Like, my art was always really personal, and it was always really like, I had done every song I had ever done in my bedroom before that. You know, I'd never even really been in a big studio with other producers in the room and stuff. So I learned a lot around that time. And I just kind of like found out, like it helped me find out who I was and where I wanted to go, because I felt like I made a couple mistakes, which are just great for learning, you know what I mean? And like, I feel like, you know, doing a song that I didn't want to do and putting it out and then having to perform it was like, oh, that's something I don't want to do. So it's like, I learned a lot around that time. And I still go to LA all the time and record music.
Was that one of the mistakes that you made that you learned from, was putting out a song that you weren't that proud of? Or what were some of the mistakes and learning points from that time? I
think just like getting a little bit lost in other people's opinions around that time for me was something I wasn't used to. Like, it was always just me and my manager and my bros, like, you know what I mean, that were like really kind of making the decisions as far as what song came out next, which song's good, which song's not. And like, when I went to LA, I was signed to a major label. And just like, you just have more pressure to like find success, and you know, you want to make sure you're, you know, doing the best job you can do, getting your music heard by as many people as possible. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just like cut out all the noise, no matter how many people are working on your stuff, and just do really honestly, truly what you want to do. And I think going to LA, I learned how to do that.
What made you decide that you learned what you needed to from that realm, and it was time to kind of go back home to Canada?
Well, I didn't even go back home to Canada to do that, but I went back home mostly for like family, and because I know how to do, like, I can record every single day. I literally almost have more freedom and time to record at home having 3 kids than I ever would somewhere else, because I actually have, you know, my mom coming by to help and all that kind of stuff, so I can just focus on music and then be a dad when I'm done. I mean, it's like 2 different ways of doing it. Like, I make some of my best stuff in my studio by myself, or in my studio maybe with 1 producer, and then I make another type of my best stuff with 4 people in the room in Los Angeles. So it's like, now I know how to do both. So it's like, I like the freedom to be able to do both. Like, for instance, my next project that I'm gonna work on, I mean, I don't know for sure, but we're talking about it, is potentially doing like a full rap project, and then doing another project after that's like much more singing, acoustic and stuff like that. But like, for the rap project, I need to be in my home studio for that stuff, because I don't get that brand of music being in a studio with a bunch of instruments and a bunch of people. I need like my core people that worked on songs like Everywhere We Go and Preach and stuff like that to be working on this like close with me, and sending files back and forth, and like them coming out and working on stuff like super condensed. And then when I do a song like Thousand Highways, like you need more stuff, you need more instruments, you need a bigger studio sometimes to do some of those bigger records.
I mean, you play guitar and stuff now, but who are the musicians that you work with on some of those like more singing, I don't know what you want to call it, I think I heard you say guitar and B at one point in something, yeah, like, but whatever you want to call it.
It's kind of like folk mixed with hip hop.
Yeah. So who are the musicians that you work with, and how did you get a hold of them and build relationships with those people? So
the guy that worked on the Aaron LP is a really close friend of mine. His name's Trevor Muzzy, and he's like freak talent. Like he's just like anything he kind of puts his mind to, he can do. And he plays guitar, he plays like slide, pedal steel, like all those types of sounds that I really like in my music he plays. And he's also gotten pretty good at just like flinging around on the Moog and keys and whatever. I met him because he mixed Can I Get a Witness, my single Can I Get a Witness, and I loved the mix. And so I was going by the studio, I got him to mix my whole album. It was One Long Dream that he mixed. And I went by the studio and he had a bunch of guitars up on the wall and stuff, and I was like, oh, you play guitar? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh man, we should write a song one day. And I went over there, and I didn't know it, but he like full on produced and was like working on producing and stuff like that. So he's a producer I work with very closely, great person. I also work with my homie Joey Resley on a lot of stuff, and he's like a homie that played guitar with me on tour and stuff, and he's just such a vibe, such a great dude. I work with my homie Sam Ricci. He worked on the new album. I've been working on a lot of stuff with him, and he's also very much like Trevor, plays everything. Lots of people, man.
Have you felt pressure to learn a lot more of the instrumental stuff yourself?
Yeah, like learning guitar. I mean, I love guitar, so I don't ever feel pressured with guitar. I've gotten way better at guitar. Like, guitar was something I picked up mad late. Like, I didn't play guitar as a kid. I never. And like, man, when I used to tour, I used to bring my guitar out for like one song, and like, it was tough for me. Like, really tough to play. It was never as tough to play, but just even playing and singing with in-ears in, and everyone's there, and you're playing, you got one shot to play this. It was so different than everything I'd done prior. Like, always, doing hype songs to beats, and like, I never had an instrument in my hand. I was making a living off music for a few years before I even knew how to play guitar. So it was like, now I love it. And I truly, this is the first tour that I've ever done that I don't even know I'm playing guitar when I'm playing it. Like, it's just like muscle memory at this point. And like, that feels really, really good for me, because it's always been one of those things that I'm thinking, am I hitting the notes singing, or am I dudding a chord? And like, even just simple things, like I play Thousand Highways live, but like, it's got multiple hammers in the main riff of it. Like, it's a don, don, like, and you're doing the finger hammers as you're singing. And that was something that I remember my last tour, I was always thinking, I'm like, am I hitting the hammer? Like, and then I'm flubbing the note singing because I'm thinking about this. Now I don't think about anything, and I'm able to just like kind of close my eyes and just pour everything into these songs live, and it just feels different. It's been way more fun for me performing this tour, just because I feel more experienced.
Yeah, when you have the confidence in general, it makes things more fun. I started painting when I was 28, and nowadays, like, I'm in the middle of painting this mural. It's 78 feet wide, 33 feet tall for like my city. It's this big thing, and it's like a pretty public project. Yeah. And I was just also a live artist at this other event and stuff. And before, there's no way I would want to paint in front of people. And now it's like fun to interact with people while I'm doing it, because it's kind of, second nature. Let's talk about the new album, and the new music video that went along with that was really, really dope. So tell us a little bit about it.
So yeah, I just put out a new album. It's called Nobody's Happy All the Time. And I just felt the need. This album was really for me in a lot of ways. Like, I wasn't trying to have like a hit single. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I started noticing like the effects of social media, even on myself, but like especially for like the young world, and like my nieces growing up and stuff. And it's just like, there's so much pressure now for people to be a certain way, and people only show you their highlight reels on social media. And I just wanted to like put out this statement, like, nobody's happy all the time. It's okay to go through things. It's okay to go through trauma. It's okay to, you know, have a bad day or whatever, and don't go on social media and think that everyone else is just doing fine. Because somebody said a quote a while ago that just like hit me so hard, but it was like, if we all put our problems in a pot and you got to really see what everyone's problems were, you'd probably take your problems out and run as fast as you could away. You know what I mean? And it's just like, so many people, man, are going through so much stuff, and I just wanted to put an album together that was like, hey, like, I go through shit too, like it's okay, and like keep going. And like, my fans like give me messages all the time and stuff that just hit me so hard, man. Like, and it's just like, sometimes you like are in the studio and you're just working on stuff, and you're being a dad, and you're doing all this other stuff, and you got all these things going in your life, and you almost forget how much music like heals people, how much music helps people, how much people, it's like the soundtrack to like them going through things, or it's the soundtrack to them getting out of a rut, you know what I mean? And it's like, I wanted to make an album for people like that. And I also just like wanted to challenge myself musically again, like, you know, do great songwriting, challenge my pen, try and write, you know, incredible records, and make a cohesive body of work. And I really do think my new album is my most cohesive body of work. I worked really hard on doing more songs than I've ever done for an album, and cutting it down to the ones I really wanted to be on there. And you'll notice also the album is like, it's understated. Like, I didn't try and like have every hook explode and be this huge thing or anything like that. It was really like, it's a really vibey record, and I'm super proud of it, man, and it's fun performing it every night.
Do you think that's a little bit of, you're in a position where you don't necessarily have to put out something that goes viral, that allows you that freedom to be comfortable enough to do something like that?
Totally, man. Like, that's another thing, like, just like not being like thirsty for it. Like, you know, I've got a good life. Also being happy lets me channel a different style of music. Like, anyone that knows me knows I'm a generally happy guy. Like, I'm happy. Like, things are going good in my life. I'm happy and stuff. But like, when I write songs that are like darker or this and that, like, that's how I let it out. Like, that's how I let out, like, anytime that I'm going through stuff, and I put it out in the airwaves and let everybody know, because that's the only way I know how to like cope with my problems, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's a therapeutic album for me. I love the body of work. It's been fun performing it every night, and I think it's gonna be one of those albums that really grows over time. Like, right now I'm seeing it with the Aaron LP. Last time I went on tour was 3 years ago, right after the Aaron LP came out, and like, I'm watching people be like so obsessed with the songs and connect. It's been the soundtrack to their life over the pandemic, getting them out of ruts and feeling a certain way with all the hard times that the pandemic brought. And like, I think my new album in like 2 years or whatever is gonna be like, yeah, I think it's gonna be one of the classics in the catalog.
Yeah, hopefully, and then you'll have a whole nother album that's coming out at
Totally.
some point. Hopefully,
I'm focusing on output. I'm gonna put out a lot of stuff here now.
you're not walking away entirely from hip hop and rapping.
Nah, man. I mean, even on the new album, I mean, I did double down on the new album. It's
Yeah.
like, ain't nobody do it like I do it when I'm doing what I'm doing. Never proving I don't really need drama. Don't need drama. Like, it's like, it's bars, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then I've got songs on there where I'm like, you know, like Remember Me For Me, and like really folky records and stuff. So I've never been one to just do one style of music. I'll always do rap. I'll always have rap, and I'll always have like folk music and singing stuff and falsetto singing records and stuff like that.
I'm curious, because you just said you're a generally happy person, and obviously it's good for your mental health to take breaks from social media and being back around family and those types of things. But I've noticed as I've gotten older that even the food I eat and everything that I do affects my health and happiness pretty significantly. What are some things that you do that keep yourself in a good, happy, healthy place physically, mentally, in general?
Well, we work out like all the time. Like, we're like, me and Dane and my homie Rich, like, on this tour, like, the only way we don't hit the gym in the morning is if we leave at like 5 in the morning. So like, we work out like all the time. We're always trying to eat right. And then I also like to drink beer and like have fun and like, I mean, like we've been drinking beers this tour. Like it's been great. Like I think life, man, is all about balance. Like my mom always told me, even when I was young, and it always stuck with me. And it was, especially when you're like partying and you're like 21 and you're just getting like hammered with your friends and stuff like that, and just like experiencing like that style of life and stuff like a lot of kids do. But my mom always told me, she just said, you know, it's okay that you're drinking, but you don't ever want to get to a place where you can't drink anymore because, you know, you abused it too much or this or that. And that it always stuck with me. She's like, you always want to have the perfect amount of fun. Don't have too much. And I was just like, huh. And it just always kind of stuck with me. And I think balance is key. And also just like doing things I love to do keep you young. Like this is my job. Like my job is unbelievable. I had to pinch myself so many times on this tour and just be like, I'm on stage and I'm just like, this is my job. Like this is my career path. Like I chose to do this and I stuck to it. Like you stuck to it the whole time. And now you're here and we're about to go to the next place. Like this is a new place for me. Like it's a new feeling on stage. It's a new kind of vibe with my fans. It's a new bond I have with my fans this tour. And it's like, I think doing things you love. I love golfing. I love skateboarding. I love watching skateboarding more than doing it now. But doing things you love keep you mentally healthy, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I can relate on the career path. I mean, that's really why this show exists. Mm-hmm. Is my last job, I worked for Verizon selling my soul and just felt horrible about what I did every single day. Like, and yeah, now it's like, this is my job today, as I got to come kick it with a couple different artists. I interviewed DJ Cam Bennett earlier this morning at my other buddy's studio. And yeah, this is my job for the day, while my shop is still being taken care of. And it's dope. So it's super cool that I get to do that type of thing. And then this will be on the radio. And yeah, it's a whole thing. So when you do things that you're really passionate about for a living, such as this, you get to have a lot of really cool experiences. For me, this is another one, not to like fangirl constantly, but it's cool that I can just DM people that I'm like, oh, I like your stuff. It'd be dope if I could meet you and do an interview. And it happens pretty often now. I interviewed a Packers player last season, and I grew up a huge Packers fan, so being able to just go out to Lambeau and do the thing, you know, is dope. Really cool experience. For you, what is an experience you had that you're really grateful for, but it only happened because you chose music as your path?
An experience that I'm really grateful for because of music? I mean, obviously getting up on stage every night and being able to actually see my fans and have people be into it, but music's taken me all over the world. Like I went to China with Dane, shot a music video out there. I've got to see the world. I've been to Africa, like all over Europe. We've toured. Even just like, man, like I know this sounds crazy, but being a Canadian artist and being able to tour all over the States and people show up everywhere that you go, people show up and sing your songs. Like, man, my first time coming to the States, I'd only been to like Seattle and Portland. Like that's it. We did it in 2014. I opened up for my friend Greaves, and me and all the homies jumped in a van. And like even just seeing like going down to like New Orleans and like just like all these places in America that I'd never been, it was like such a cool experience off of music. And yeah, I don't know, man, I'm grateful for all of it. We played the Grey Cup in Canada, which is like the Super Bowl of Canada. You know, getting nominated for Juno Awards with my friends and stuff. It's just been like, it's taken me all over the place. Like I would have never, if you were to tell me when I was 15 that like, okay, so just gonna let you know, like later on in life you're gonna be like doing shows in front of like a bunch of people that are singing your songs all the time. You do it as a job. Your wife doesn't work. You're like got 3 kids and like shit's going good. Like I'd be like, pinch me, man. Like, you know, because I always knew it would work out, but I'm just really grateful, man. Yeah. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I'm stoked everything's going so well for you. I'm stoked for you to be able to be on this tour, get to see a bunch of new cities. You're almost at the end of the tour. I'm stoked for you, just as a fellow dad, to be able to get back to your kids. I have my kids week on, week off, and the weeks I don't have my kids, by the 7th day of it, I'm like dying. Yeah. So for you to be gone that long, I can relate of how much that must suck. So I'm excited for you to be able to get back home. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Where can people best follow you, get in contact, see your body of work, if they want to go see a show or whatever? Where can they best follow you and reach out? And then what song do you want to end with?
So you can follow me on Instagram at SonReal. You can pretty much just type in SonReal anywhere, SonReal, and I'm gonna pop up. Spotify, listen to my music. If you type in on YouTube SonReal, you're gonna get some really funny videos, some great content on YouTube from us for sure. And the next song I want to play is off my new album. It's one of my favorite songs off the new album, and it's called Remember Me For Me, featuring Lily Moore. She's an artist from the UK, and she's just got an incredible voice, and it's just a really special song to me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.